This is one of the first skydiving tragedies ever recorded on video, and it is pure nightmare fuel. The date was April 2nd, 1988. Experienced skydiver Ivan Lester McGuire prepared to make his third jump of the day, something he had done over 800 times before. Most people would be a nervous wreck looking out of the open door of a plane flying 10,000 feet in the air, but Ivan, on the other hand, lived for it. You see, on that day, Ivan was tasked with filming an instructional video on skydiving safety. The plan was to fly up to 10,000 feet in the air, and then he would jump alongside an instructor and student, filming them in mid-air as they demonstrated how to safely pull your parachute and land properly. Keep in mind, this was back in the 1980s, a time when handheld video cameras were still relatively rare. And the particular camera that Ivan was using that day was incredibly bulky. So bulky, in fact, that he had to wear a whole backpack just to carry all of the camera equipment. As Ivan and the others prepared to make their third jump of the day, he put on his bulky camera backpack, entered the plane, and took off. Before he knew it, they reached 10,000 feet, and he was looking out of the open door, with nothing standing in between him and the earth below. He leapt without hesitation, as he had always done, but this time he forgot by far the most important piece of equipment: his parachute. It was the late 1980s, and skydiving was booming in popularity across the United States. Ivan Lester McGuire was a bit of an adrenaline junkie himself, so he took on this new hobby with great passion. At 35 years old, he had over 800 jumps under his belt and was very well respected amongst his peers. Fast forward to the day of the incident. As Ivan was set to film a routine skydive as part of a safety video, he was tasked with filming the other instructor with his student as they executed all of the key details that made for a safe jump. But this was nothing new to him, as he was known for filming his jumps quite often. Nobody thought twice as he got ready to jump alongside the instructor and student. Only this time something was different. The plane slowly climbed to altitude as Ivan and everybody on board remained painfully unaware of the fatal mistake that had been made. He stood by the open door with nothing but the large camera bag on his back, which everybody thought was his parachute. The three jumped as Ivan made sure to keep the instructor and student in the camera's view while in midair. They continued falling until the instructor and student deployed their parachute, but Ivan just continued to fall, plummeting to the earth faster and faster. You see the camera footage start shaking in panic as the gut-wrenching reality sets in that he forgot his parachute. We can see through his point of view as he frantically tries to grasp for his parachute while continuing to plummet to the earth at 150 miles per hour, all while the camera is still rolling. He was in free fall for nearly a whole minute, left with nothing but his thoughts during what he knew were his final moments alive. Ivan was heard shouting, "Oh my God, no!" Those would be his last words alive. His body was found about 1.5 miles away from the runway where they took off from. Somehow his camera and footage survived the fall, giving investigators a look into what occurred that day. The Federal Aviation Administration were tasked with looking into the situation. They ruled out the possibility of this being a self-inflicted casualty, since Ivan had shown no signs of struggling with mental illness and had made over 800 jumps with no issues before. They then turned their focus onto the pilot and crew that was with Ivan that day. As Inspector Walter Rigsby said, Regulation number 105 states that the pilot must make sure no one can jump unless the pilot checks the parachutes. At the time, pilot Mark Luman was investigated to see if he complied with this regulation. Captain Ralph Brown stated, "It kind of appears he reached for his parachute and didn't have one. You could only see the instructor and the student falling on the video, but the release for his parachute is on his right hip. And when that right hand goes down, the left hand comes forward and it comes into the view of the camera. Then the pictures get to moving real fast because he's approaching the ground at 150 miles per hour. The only thing the camera shows is the ground coming. The wife of the parachute center's owner said at the time, "No one was aware that he got on the plane without a parachute. Of course, no one knew or they would have stopped him." You may wonder how an experienced skydiver can make such a basic mistake. It is speculated that he had mistaken his bulky camera backpack for his parachute. The crew also believed that he wasn't entirely focused on the jump itself, due to fatigue or from being preoccupied with his bulky camera equipment. He had reportedly worked the night shift at a phone manufacturing company and typically left the skydiving club at noon to get to work. On that Saturday, however, he stayed 2.5 hours later to shoot the video, which possibly contributed to the additional fatigue levels that he may have been experiencing. Others speculate that the sheer number of jumps that he had successfully completed in his life may have given him a sense of complacency. As he prepared to do yet another jump, he may not have felt the sense of urgency and danger that skydiving demands. We may never know the definitive cause for this tragic mistake, but more than likely, it was a combination of factors. Regardless, his death sent shockwaves through the skydiving community. His story serves as a stark reminder that even if you have years of experience, you can still make basic mistakes that can end fatally. But what do you think of this tragedy? Let me know in the comments down below. And be sure to like and subscribe for more terrifying true crime and disturbing real events.